Time for our next fireside chat on cyber harassment and call harassment, which is taking a more and more aggressive route in India today. And education and awareness building are two crucial factors in empowering women to tackling such harassment through technology. For deep diving on this, we have with us our speakers who have years and years of expertise in this field. Yes, I'm talking about Miss Pragya Mehrishi, who is with us. I feel immense pleasure to welcome you, who is the Director of Public Affairs, Truecaller India, in conversation with Miss Sairee Chahal, who is the founder and CEO SHEROES. Over to you both.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with Sairee talking about the new campaign that Truecaller has launched called It's Not Okay, and that you need to call it out. So, Sairee, I'm looking forward to the discussion, and please tell me and hand it over to you to take the dialogue forward.
Absolutely. Good to be here, Pragya, and I'm excited to learn about this very important campaign. And of course, I think one has, one has had these conversations both with the team at Truecaller and elsewhere. We've done a bunch of collaborations in the past, and I think there's the idea of safe and free internet for everyone appeals to us, and the idea of safety and privacy for every user appeals to us. At least that's very fundamental to what we are building in the entire SHEROES ecosystem. So yeah, I think there's a lot of common ground there, and I think this couldn't be more timely given some of the recent developments, and given the uncertain times we are in and everything that we've seen in the last couple of years. So for sure, happy to be here, and of course happy to learn about all the work you guys have been doing, especially on the product side and on the policy side. So would be great for you to sort of
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. And I think I would want to begin with what we're trying to do specifically around women's safety. So, at Truecaller, we take online safety very seriously, but more so women's safety. And that's because it's a cause which is very close to my heart, of course, and you can imagine the reasons for that. But also to our founders, both Alan and Nami, they feel that women's safety is something which should be at the forefront of what we're doing at Truecaller. And just to back this up, right, we recently did a survey and we found that about 85% of the women in India did receive, harassment calls and texts. And therefore, that led to blocking the number. And only actually 12% went ahead and reported that to law enforcement. And so our campaign this year, which, with the key messages, call it out, is because we don't want only women to report it and block it on Truecaller, which is a great first step. But then beyond that, the only way harassment stops is when you go and report it on the national helpline number, like the 112 or 181, or go and report it even on the cybercrime portal. Because what typically happens is I might block that number. And so now I've made myself safe. But until you actually go out and report it to law enforcement, that person just moves on and harasses 10, 15, 20 other women. And so it's not really solving for what we're trying to do. And that's when a collaborative effort on this topic comes together. So our goal this year is to bring policymakers, law enforcement, civil society, mental health experts, lawyers, also victims who've recovered from this and actually have stories to share about how they've coped with it. Yeah. Is what is going to be the focus for us this year. And also, I think with an increased dependence on digital technologies, as we saw that during the pandemic, that we were literally using only our phones to connect with our friends and family because we were all socially isolated. It's also bound for misuse to take place. And so I think we believe that there is an urgent need for better mechanisms to really tackle harassment. And again, the only way that can happen is we join hands and do this in a really collaborative way. And I guess the first aspect to this was around building awareness, which we've been doing in the last 5 years. But this year, I think enough has been spoken about. We've also highlighted enough real stories. This year, our main focus is what can we do to raise, some amount of awareness around digital safety, and also I would say outlining and arming women with the right set of tools to at least report this in the real world. I hope this gives you a sense on what we're trying to do this year.
Absolutely. No, I do. And I'd love to know, look, I think you guys are clearly invested in this, have been for a long time, and it's very intrinsic to your line of work. You have chosen this, you're solving a hard problem for the internet. And of course, I think you are definitely very well aligned. What can other organizations do? Organizations who don't do this as their line of sight, how can they enable this mission more? How can they make this stronger? Because this is not just your problem or my problem. I think it's internet's problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's internet's problem, of course, but I also feel there's an incredible amount of social conditioning that comes along with it, right? And I think maybe what organizations could do, and I'm no real expert in that, but I can say that some of the things that we have done at Truecaller is bring in a lot more diversity in our employment. And when that happens, I feel that you're able to be a lot more empathetic. And when you work with many more women colleagues, you realize what they really go through. And when you see that there is harassment, whether that's online, on the phone, on SMS, or in the real world, I would encourage that everyone within the organization comes together to literally call it out. Because if I, as an individual, don't feel like the organization or my team is backing me in tackling an issue like this, then I would obviously not talk about it or feel shame. And those are the reasons why most women don't go out and report it. And so I think just making sure that it does not get normalized, I think the way it has in very many ways, where we almost take it for granted that if I'm going to be getting onto a metro or a bus, that there is going to be some amount of harassment, or if I give my phone number to somebody who I don't know, or I call an unknown person in a restaurant, or somebody who's delivering, that there is an opportunity that that person's going to come around and harass me, and there is almost no accountability for him to stop this. I think we can all come together to actually say that this is not okay. And if the right support system can be created, whether that is within the organization or within society or even within our own homes, then I think that more and more people will be deterred to actually do this kind of harassment. Because Sairee, as it almost cripples us. For somebody else on the other side, it's just a message or it's just a call that they sent, right? But for us, it plays on our mind through the day. And that is what we want to highlight even through this campaign, that let's not normalize this anymore, and let's not say, oh, it was just one other thing that happened in my day and now I'm going to just move on, but actually have the courage to go out and take action.
Yeah, no, I think very well said. And we work with a lot of first-time internet users, and we are a women-only platform. And the reason we are a women-only platform is because safety comes first. And a lot of women uh, are are very, very very hesitant about trying new platforms, or even if they do, I think nobody comes to a new platform expecting harassment. Nobody comes to social media expecting any form of abuse or trolling, or I think just a lot of unsolicited things thrown at us. I would love to understand from you, how do you view this for a large number of first time internet users, and of course I think including some of us, what are best practices? Like, what do I do as a user to really make sure I'm safe? Because the truth is, even today, safety is still my job, right? Like, I think as women, we're always watching over our shoulder. What is your advice here?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that with technology, there is a lot of empowerment and positive stuff that comes with it. And I think we particularly saw that during the pandemic. But I also feel, like I said earlier, that there is the flip side of it. And we have created a very strong online safety curriculum with our civil society partners, Cyber Peace Foundation, And as part of this campaign, we are taking that curriculum to about 5 regions in the country in local languages, and we want to impact about 15 to 16 lakh people across the country. Now, if you look at it in a broader perspective, this is hardly, this is just a drop in the ocean, because we have about 750 million, smartphones, and therefore this is really nothing. But we hope that through our partnerships, we are able to bring this to as many people as possible, and specifically also bring it to women. And the curriculum actually covers, what you just said, the tips and tricks to make sure that you are safe online. If you have a social media account, what can you do to make sure that you are staying safe? And specifically in the context of Truecaller, the service that we provide is around caller identification. And if you're receiving a call from someone you don't know, don't take that call, right? Or we have about, I want to share an interesting stat here. About 50% of our Truecaller users in India, which is about 10 crore, is actually women. And that's because they use this as their first line of defense. Because when I know who's calling me, I'm able to take a more considered decision around whether I want to take this call or not. And even then, take a step forward where if I'm feeling vulnerable in that conversation, I can actually go ahead and block that number. And so, you're absolutely right. We want to take this safety curriculum all the way to the hinterland, talk to first time digital users, make them aware of the risks that come with the internet, and that what are these almost hygiene tips that you can keep in your back pocket to make sure that you're staying safe no matter where you're communicating using the phone. So those are some things that we're trying to do. And we also have a partnership with Network 18 to really amplify this a lot, right? I think most people are going to be watching television, and they also watch it in local regional languages. So we want to meet our users where they are, whether that's on television or on digital, or even through our own platform, our own Truecaller app. And then I think the second thing I just wanted to talk about is, with our Truecaller app, we've been able to address a lot of the, I would say, safety elements of it through on calls and SMSs. But we've also gone ahead and launched Guardians, which is a location safety app. And so it's almost a way for you to stay safe on the move. And a lot of us now, hopefully when the world normalizes, will be back on our feet, going to offices, traveling at 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. at night. And we want to feel like there's somebody who's watching over us. We do have this, I'm sure you've done it, right? I've done it a lot where I hop into a cab or an Uber or anything, and I pick up the phone and, I'll tell somebody that, look, I'm on my way, just to make sure that I feel safe, like someone's watching over me. Now you can just start that on the Guardians app, and they know where you are. And in case you feel like you're vulnerable, you can click on the emergency SOS button, and the volunteering community, even within the Guardians app, can come and help you. And now we're also making an effort to do an integration with law enforcement so that they can also find where you are. And, I think time is the most important thing in these kinds of challenges. You don't want any delay. I'm in trouble now. I need help within 5 to 10 minutes before things get worse. So we want to be able to have the Guardians app also work with law enforcement so that you can get help when you need it in almost, I would say record time, because that's what matters.
No, super interesting. I think, and this is a process. We are a large country with so many variables, so I can only understand how hard this is a problem to solve. But fascinating to learn about this for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the complexity is what makes it interesting, right? I think if it was easy to solve, it would have been already been done, and we would have been a far safer, both on the internet and in the real world. But that is not the reality we live in. And so I think hopefully initiatives like this will allow people to come together and, make the effort to, of course, call it out, but not just not know what to do with it. We want to, through this campaign, arm people with the right kind of resources, whether that's just our curriculum or telling them what numbers to call, but also creating awareness around the Ministry of Home and the law enforcement initiatives that they have taken. There is a whole campaign that they're running around safety. They have about, I think, around 8 cities where there are women only police stations, Delhi being one of them. So I think a lot of us feel apprehensive in going out and reporting a crime because you're like, you don't know what you're walking into. But if there is a woman only police station, you feel a lot more comfortable in reporting that. And then, of course, the law does take its own time, but at least you have done your bit of going out there and reporting it and taking action.
Got I think I'm really fascinated by this because I think the approach you guys take is exactly the approach we have taken. As a company, we use tech to solve a lot of hard social problems, and of course, I think a lot of these problems exist because we are a patriarchal society where men have a natural superiority embedded in many different ways. And of course, I think there are many other variables that come in. But I think the solution is still technology, and that's the only way you can take it to millions of people. Talk me through the product a little bit, and a little bit around how your team's back, when they're at the drawing board, how they're thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because, Guardians was something that emerged with global research that we were doing. I know we do this every year around I think 5 or 6 countries. And we realized that, constantly, countries like India and others are really top of the list. And so therefore, actually, Guardians emerged from a lot of that research, because we felt that it's good that Truecaller is doing its bit in, being the first line of defense for women by giving them context on who's calling them. And so they're able to block and report within the app. But then what are we also doing for women who are on the move? And that's a big part, like I said, of us not just surviving, but literally thriving, right? Because if I don't feel safe when I'm on the move, I'm going to fall off the workforce. I'm not going to go out and live my life fully. And so we felt that we could do our bit in empowering women in even on the move situation, when they're really traveling. And so again, we took a little bit of research. We went and spoke to a bunch of women in these countries. And last year, when we launched our It's Not Okay campaign, which I hope you did see, and, we had a lot of real stories. We had outside, hoardings of women really talking about the standard lines, that you get you get over SMS or over a call, for people to almost look at it, or even for men to almost look at it and say, okay, that could be me, or I have done that in the past. It's like a wake up call. But at the same time, I think, we also want to make this conversation very inclusive. I think this is not about men versus women. I think it's a conversation about how can we bring in some amount of societal change where the issue is perceived differently. And so I think, we bring a lot of these learnings that we get in market into our product features. So like I said, whether that's launching Guardians or also doing a lot more work on our internal app, which is, like pegging these or almost pinning these important helpline numbers on our dialer. So if you use Truecaller as your default dialer, you'll be able to see a number of these women harassment helpline numbers on top. Because, like I was saying earlier, when you are in a vulnerable situation, you almost panic, right? Like my instinct is not to keep this 112 number, memorized. But when I have it available right in front of me, I can actually make that call that I need to in that moment and get the help that I need. So, these are some of the product integrations that we're trying to do. And I think also, cyber fraud now is becoming a big issue, and that's very wide. And it's a little bit outside fighting harassment, but it's not like women don't get duped, or it's not that, the other scams and frauds that are taking place during the pandemic, women are in any way protected by that. So, through our curriculum, the True Cyber Safe curriculum that we've developed with Cyber Peace Foundation, we're also talking a little bit about that, because impersonation is again a big issue. People claiming to be, I am from the police station, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm going to get you a job. And we all have been, vulnerable to this, or at some point, tempted to say, oh, if I'm winning this lottery, why don't I just call this number if I've got an SMS, right? So even creating wide education around that is also something that we want to do as an agenda. So I would say pinning numbers on our dialer and our smart SMS features really allow for a lot of these scam and spam messages to go into the spam folder. So you almost don't see it when you open your SMS inbox, and if you don't see it, it's probably a higher probability that you're not going to fall for that fraud and scam. So these are some things that we have on our platform, which drive safety.
Super. I think very, very inspiring work, and I wish the campaign all the best. I'm very excited, and I hope to learn more about your work as we go along.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, I'd love to know a little bit about, the online safety work that you've been doing. You're a power in the women's internet world on your own, and SHEROES is a very well-known name and brand. So could you just help me a little bit about the work that you're doing in this space?
Absolutely. So I think for us, two things are very important. One is, I think the fundamental of our work is safety. I think safety is a core value for us. And therefore, we do a bunch of things, whether it's verifications, whether it's making sure the platform's absolutely spam and abuse free, a very high degree of agency for every user, and very strong KPIs. I think we're the only platform that invests very strongly in making sure spam and abuse control is very, very high on our list. But I think more recently, we've been investing a lot in our community, and since we had 2 years of pandemic, I think a lot of women are rebuilding their lives. They are looking for standing back on their feet. So three things are very important to us at this point in time. One is employment, second is entrepreneurship, and third is access to capital. In fact, we started a neobank for women this year, and the idea of the neobank is to just put more and more access to capital in hands of women. And but it's interesting, even when we're building a financial institution for women, safety is important. And it's amazing how this plays out, because like one of the core features we ended up designing is being able to use the pin on every feature on the app. Basically, if you want to take a loan, or you want to check your balance, or you want to buy a financial product, it's really controlled by you. So safety of usage is coming through. And again, it's being built like a community. So again, a lot of safety and spam control, very, very similar set of, I think, product values for sure. And I think, but what we realize is, if we compromise on safety, we compromise on every other value we deliver to the user. So I think that is now hardcore embedded, baked in our DNA, baked in our product, baked in our processes. And of course, I think we hope that we increase the impact we make on women. We're a community of about 25 million women. And I think as the internet grows, and as the first time digital base of women continues to grow, we know that more and more women will transact online, they will build their business online. They are now, remote work is bigger than ever and growing. And of course, access to capital. All this is happening here. So the use cases are getting even more richer. And all these cases need a massive investment and trust and safety. So we continue to go deeper with the same thesis.
Great, great to hear that. And you're right. I think our, at least at Truecaller, our vision and mission, of course, is to build trust in communication, and we do that, through our services. But, just one other thing I would like to say to what you mentioned is, if there is one bad experience that a first-time digital user as a woman has around safety, and she doesn't feel safe, the whole entire world of opportunities that the internet provides almost gets lost on her. And that just means that it's just tougher for women to keep coming back and being also contributors to the economy, because they're around 50% of our population in our country. And so we want to bring them in as much as possible. So I think internet on safety on the internet and in communication is really critical to even generally economic value being created in the country. So yeah, it was really nice chatting to you. And I just want to say to everyone as a last message, which is, please, report harassment if you see it. This is what we're trying to do with It's Not Okay. And so just, call it out, call the helpline numbers that the government has provided, and also go check out our online curriculum on itsnotok.in.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Pragya. This is great, and all the best to everyone and the team who worked on this, and look forward to learning more about your work.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Stay safe. And thanks so much for Adgully for making this happen. And that was it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, beautiful ladies. That was a quick and useful session for all of us. Thank you once again.